And so we know there's a demand for this type of material.
Hawaii County is moving forward with a plan to put a full-scale composting facility somewhere in Puna. On November 19th, the Hawaii County Council got an update on the environmental assessment for the future East Hawaii Organics facility. Environmental management officials delivered the presentation in Kona.
Hi, good morning. Solid Waste Division Chief Greg Goodale. We picked 3 sites that had an assessment done for them that were all in the Puna district for a compost facility. 2 of the sites are right adjacent to each other in the Shipman Business Park, and then the other one is I should say, adjacent to the Keao transfer station. So we hired a consultant to do that assessment for those 3 sites. The site that is on kind of more the Hilo side of the Shipman Business Park, and this slide shows where that's located. That was the site that was scored the highest, and that's the site that we're actually currently conducting our environmental assessment on. As you can see, this picture gives kind of an idea of what it looks like. Actually, though, there has been some clearing that was done by W.H. Shipman. They're planning to use part of this parcel to grow papayas. So the intended East Hawaii Organics facility is to be a full-scale compost facility and is able to compost most types of organic waste, including food waste and contaminated paper. Facility is expected to significantly reduce the amount of organics that would enter into the landfill. Organics from the West Hawaii Organics facility would be brought over to the East Hawaii Organics facility for composting. The food waste and also any types of contaminated paper. So if you think about things like pizza boxes or anything that really kind of came in contact with food, those cannot then enter into the regular recycling stream. So this will give a place for a lot of that type of material to go. So this is just a layout of general layout, of how the facility may be configured. And so what those rectangles on the right-hand side represent would be the windrows that the material would get put into. And this kind of a little more of a fancy version of that. So here just shows where those windrows and what we call the gore. It's an in-vessel compost facility, which means it's basically underneath what would look like a big tarp, but it's made out of a Gore-Tex type materials. They have oxygen sensors, they have temperature sensors, they have an actual blower that blows air through the pile. So this is just basically kind of representation of what the facility may look like. One thing I want to point out, and if you can kind of see where it looks like a large building and then there's like a some machinery in there, that's where all the material is actually going to be taken in. So everything that's taken in from any type of trucks dropping off materials is going to dump to an indoor type facility. It's not just happening out in the open. So the draft EA was published August 23rd. We had a public information meeting on September the 9th at the Keao Community Center. There's a 30-day comment period which ended September the 24th. This is just a picture of what the covers look like, and you can see it looks like they're kind of billowing up a little bit, and that's because of the air that's being blown up through the piles as they are composting. And this is just a cross-section view. You can see on the far, the right-hand end, that's where basically it's like a concrete wall with the blower installed, and then the blower blows the air down through the bottom of the pile. Should a finding of no significant impact be determined for this site, the county would then begin the process of negotiating with the owner of the property, W.H. Shipman, for a lease on the facility. Our expectation is we've given the contractor a notice to proceed for the design of the West Hawaii facility, but once we can get a FONSI for the East Hawaii facility, then we would give them the similar type of notice to proceed with designing the facility for East Hawaii.
Did I hear this, that we're going to haul the food waste to East Hawaii? Did I hear all that?
So any food waste or the contaminated paper mixed with the mulch would get transported on the return trip with the trucks and trailers heading back to East Hawaii.
Would you still be making the mulch at West Hawaii, though, as opposed to the full-on composting?
Yes, part of the contract we have with our contractor is that they would still continue to have mulch available on both sides of the island, in both East Hawaii and West Hawaii. So yes, there will be mulch at Kealakekee and West Hawaii landfill both.
And would the compost be provided to West Hawaii as well?
Yes, it will.
After-
It's again, part of the contract is that the contractor is required to handle the distribution, which means they're going to have to bring compost to the West Hawaii facilities. So they're responsible for doing the marketing and distribution of all the material.
And that would be at a cost, as opposed to the mulch, which is for free?
Correct. The contractor is going to be responsible for setting whatever the price they believe, that they can sell the material. There was a lot of research that went into this ahead of time. There's a lot of folks on this island that are utilizing compost that's being imported in from outside of Hawaii. And so we know there's a demand for this type of material. So we believe that, both East Hawaii and West Hawaii, there's going to be significant demand for this type of material.
Okay, thank you.